what I've learned about myself, the 10th of June, 2026. I love change. I love reinvention, but I'm so impatient. I want to change now, and I have a unique ability to change my entire being in a relatively quick manner. If life before had become so unbearable, why wouldn't I want to change in the blink of an eye? It makes me impatient when the rest of the circumstances in my life don't change at the same pace that I do. And this could be my exact downfall. It makes me lose hope. I think to myself, what is the point? Why do I try to change my internal environment when my external environment still stays the same? My external environment is what catalyzed my want to change, but it is the thing that is outside of my control and causes me to lose hope in my new vision of the future. Am I destined to remain in misery for the rest of my life? Or do I stay strong? How do I maintain my internal progress without feeling disappointed by my external circumstances? In these moments, all I want to do is cut everything out of my life that is not in alignment with my new self. But then I also risk losing hope in the world. And what is the point of achieving happiness if I have no one to share it with? In circles I go, not knowing what to do next. And this is exactly why I'm sitting here again in the same situation I've been in many times before. Maybe this time will be different. It really feels so. A new life awaits. If only I can stay strong, resist the pull of the familiar, and stay true to myself and the future I wish to create. So, like I've just mentioned there, this seems to be kind of a regular cycle that I've actually gone through already multiple times in my life. Let's see how many I can count. There was when I finished school, when I finished at the surf school, when I finished studying, when my foiling career came to an end and I quit alcohol, and now again. So was that 4 or 5 times that I've already tried to go through this process of change and reinvention. But I've also realized that looking back, everything actually did happen for a reason. And I think that this could very well be that big break that I've been hoping for my whole life. And this before I was waiting for a big break in terms of my career going well, accomplishing certain things that I felt that would make me feel good about myself, but any of my accomplishments actually did not move the needle at all in terms of happiness. So this, I think the big change this time is more, well, the most important thing is the internal changes that I can try to make, and this try to maintain. Because it seems like with every cycle that I've been through, every rebuild, every attempt at reinvention with no real success, just because after a certain amount of time I'd always fall back into my familiar habits and my familiar patterns. And that's one of the things that I've also realized is a lot of these bad habits, the addictions that have ranged from seemingly small things to really big things. Oh, fuck, no, I forgot where I was. Fuck. But yeah, I kept trying to make these Well, oh yeah, that's what I that's what I was. Sorry, I just had a complete brain fart there. But basically, what I've realized is one of the reasons why I'd always regress back into my old habits and patterns was because those habits and patterns had become coping mechanisms to try and escape an internal conflict, but then also just a hole that I've always felt inside of me that I've never been able to fill. So now my approach is slightly different this time. I'm going to have to go back in depth into my complete past to find those traumas that led to this hole inside of me. So that word just doesn't feel like it sounds right there. But just, yeah, that lack of something, that feeling of loneliness that I've always had. I've realized that, like, I was always trying to find groups to fit into, relationships to help me not feel lonely. But the source of my loneliness originated from my childhood and the family environment. So now I'm really trying to approach this rebuild differently. I'm going to spend the next couple months, probably years, probably much even longer than that, maybe even decades, to be able to address all of those internal wounds and feelings of lack by trying to fix the place that they actually originated from, which is my family environment. And I've always just never felt like I've belonged in my family. And I just have felt like I've never really found a place in the world quite yet to belong. Or when I did feel that sense of belonging, it didn't match. It was always, I always had this thing that, I had to accomplish these big things to feel somewhat successful, to feel proud of myself, which I have never felt proud of myself for any accomplishments that I've actually achieved, whether they be big or small accomplishments. But I think where I have started to feel proud of myself is in the internal battles that I've been starting to gain some ground over and get some small wins. One of those big wins, which I keep almost forgetting about, is being able to quit alcohol. That's probably one of the biggest addictions that most people, or the easiest and most, what's the word, accepted addiction to have. I think to some degree we all have a little bit of a alcohol addiction. If we are using alcohol to at all escape our own feelings of not being enough, or even it disguises itself in other ways. For me it was, I've been boring my whole life. I need to start becoming fun. I need to start going out. I need to start trying to feel like I can find a group to fit into. But then using almost that was almost the excuse that I began to use to cover my addiction to alcohol, for example. And even that, I mean, one day I think that's the biggest thing with any addictions, is an addiction is a coping mechanism. And if we are not happy with where we are and our own internal environment, we're always going to be driven to some sort of coping mechanism, whether it be mindlessly scrolling on your phone, watching TV. All of these things disguise themselves in, well, we just distract ourselves constantly as a way to not have to sit and think and analyze our own minds, and never mind being able to admit our faults, see where we've made mistakes, where we have not been the person that we want to be, and also just being in this modern world where we are, all of those things are seen. I'm fucking trying to get my words to come to me today. All of these things are just seen as normal. It's like such a normal thing that we just never address our traumas for our whole lives. And then we end up dying with all of these regrets on our deathbed, as opposed to knowing that that's probably going to happen to us one day. So let's try and address our traumas now so that we don't end up looking back on our life with any regret whatsoever. And I'm embarking on this journey. I have already spent a lot of times looking into the darkness within my own self, and I will continue to do so, because when you shine a light into the darkness, that's the only way that we will be able to start to address it and eliminate it from our lives, so that it doesn't become one of the controlling factors that will forever drive our decisions, whether we are conscious of it or not. So that's why I've actually loved this time sitting here. Every time I record one of these videos, when I do my journal reading and I start to be able to unpack my own thoughts, it's also what I really struggle with is thinking too much about things and never getting those thoughts out. And this, now that I'm realizing, is becoming one of those ways that I can verbalize what's in my head, and then when you turn it into words, you're able to hear yourself and be able to get a better understanding. And even just like in my head, there's so many competing thoughts trying to, like, for example, I see this part of myself that I don't like, and then there'll be another part of myself that says that I can't change that, or that it was caused by X happening in my life before that made me what I am. So there's like your initial thought, and then there's thoughts that try and compete with that to try and make it okay just to go back into that exact same mentality that we've carried for our whole lives. And I think in doing this it's going to become one of the most vital parts in me being able to become who I want to be. And I'm having so much fun with it, and every day I'm just like, this is what I truly want to be doing with my life. Being able to share my story, because I've drawn inspiration from so many stories that I've seen online. It seems like I listen to lots of podcasts, and a lot of those podcasters have had their own troubles with addictions in the past, and they've been completely open about it. And I don't know why it shouldn't be the case with me. Why should I have to hide and repress my deepest, darkest thoughts and aspects of myself, rather than being able to put it out there, whether someone sees this or not, that it is actually going to draw inspiration from it. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be drawing inspiration, but just being able to see someone else confronting the parts of themselves that are normally seen as, there I go again. It's like I'm trying to use these words that aren't within my intellectual capacity just yet. So hopefully with reading every day, with journaling, and even wanting to go study again next year, I really think that this is just going to be actually the start of the best of my life. And I'd been so scared of getting to 30 because I've felt like my 20s have almost been just a repeat of many, many failures over and over. Where now I think my 30s are going to be about learning from my 20s, taking all the valuable skills that I've actually gained through living multiple different lives in my 20s, essentially. So I'm loving this. I'm loving being able to look deep within myself, to know who I don't want to be anymore, and create the life that I want for myself. And I believe that I actually deserve, which we all deserve a good life. If you think that you deserve a bad life, I'm sorry that you think that way, and hopefully you will be able to learn to love yourself and be able to create a better life for yourself into the future. I'm still learning to love myself. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but each day that I sit here and I do all these good things for myself, I'm feeling proud of myself for the first time in my life. And yeah, thanks for watching today's episode. And tomorrow I might do one, I might not. I got some big plans tomorrow, big things gonna happen, big steps to help me go forward in my life and leave my past behind. So thanks for watching and see you again tomorrow.